Hey, welcome to Alum House Sound. My name is Dave, and today we're going to finish and conclude a series that I've been trying to do for probably 3 years now. We're talking about crowd mics. Now, I'm just going to dive right into it because I'm stoked about the solution that I found. A number of you all are on the X32 console, maybe the M32 platform, maybe you're on the Behringer Wing, or any other digital platform that you've got. I'm going to talk about my experiences on the X32 in my venue at my church. Now, I am in an old historic movie theater. This place was built in 1928, and it has seen quite the thing over the years. But the exciting part is this. We have our PA that sets up. We've got two 15-inch QSC three-way top cabinets that sit on our stage. Just below those, we've got 18-inch QSC powered subs, and those are banging into our room, into this big movie theater. We wanted to add some crowd mics into our live stream. So, like every good person does, you watch what all the big churches do, and they've got these nice, pencil condenser mics that they stick up onto the front of their stage, and that looks great, and it sounds amazing. And I did that, and what happened? My microphones distorted horribly from the sound of the PA, the kick drum, the bass guitar, again, kind of pounding through this room, became overwhelming for the microphones. Now, that being said, I tried multiple different things. We tried putting them on the front of the stage by the PA. We tried putting them in the middle of the stage, in front of the stage. We actually have an orchestra pit, so I was able to kind of peek them up like two little antennae sticking up on either side, pointing at the congregation. That really only gets the first, say, row or two of people. It's better than nothing, but it's still distorted. We also have some what we call owl's nests, where kind of alcoves that sit up above. If you've seen any of the videos of this space, it's quite amazing. One side has a harp on it, the other side has a piano. They're all tied into an old Wurlitzer organ. But we're not here to talk about that. Stay on crowd mics, Dave. So I even stuck some crowd mics up there and tried them up there to get more of a broad overlook down to the congregation people. And while it was a better blended sound of people, it was still distorting. So that brought up to me the idea of how can I make these mics automatically turn off? Okay, I listened to Stephen Furtick actually at Elevation Church. Not that he was telling me the things about audio, but when I would listen and evaluate to what they were doing, you can hear his mic and the crowd mics are on, and then seemingly when he starts to get excited in his preaching, those crowd mics seem to turn off and go away automatically. I doubt that there's somebody actively fading them in and out. I could be wrong. They've got a huge production team there. But when I think about what I needed to do in my environment, I have one sound technician that's managing front of house. Effectively, they're kind of managing monitors, but the people on stage set their own monitors through the phone app. And then they're managing broadcast as well. So one person in the middle of the room, it's too much to try and manage and fade up and down crowd mics when the drums and stuff are playing. So here's what I found. Here's the short version of what I'm doing. I have a stereo pair of microphones. I'm getting ready to add another stereo pair since I finally cracked this code. But I have a stereo pair of microphones. And on the X32, when you link these two microphones, you have two gates, one gate for this microphone, one gate for this microphone, but the gate will impact both microphones. So I have all of my drums that run through a drum bus, and so I'm taking that bus as a trigger to sidechain into this gate. I'm also taking my bass guitar as a side chain. So I have two gates. One is triggered by the drums, one is triggered by the bass. I'm gonna show all this to you in the console and show you how I have these settings set up, because I'm not just using it as a gate, it's set as a ducker. But I'm gonna run tracks back through the board, we'll video and show you what's happening and even give you a little sample of what it sounds like. So that being said, if you're looking to crack this code, use gates that are side chained by whatever it is that is distorting your signal for me, all of the low end frequencies were distorting. So as soon as the drums, the kick drum and snare were getting really loud in the PA, that was overwhelming the mics. Anytime the bass guitar was getting really loud in the PA, it was overwhelming the mics. But as soon as they drop out, now my gate slowly ramps in, my crowd mics are activated, and then as soon as they hit that, it immediately goes away so that it's not a nasty sound into the live stream. So that's the short version of what we've got. I'd love for you to stick around, see the settings that I've got inside of the X32 console, and then, yeah, if it's helpful, you can put it into practice in your venue as well with your crowd mics. So let's pause this, let's jump into the console and pick up there. All right, so here on the console, we're taking a look at the board, and what we've got is my basic setup here, just to kind of run through it for you. Channels 1 through, now this is the compact, so we've only got these 8 to work with, unless I do the spillover, where if I hit channels 1 through 8 and 9 through 16 at the same time, then it'll send this as 1 through 16, keeping your main fader over here. So maybe if we look at it like this, we've got our drums here, then we've got our instruments, so bass, electric, acoustic, which I've doubled the channels on. Then we have our 3 vocals. The next layer down, we have pads, no piano or keyboard today, but here are my crowd mics. The crowd mics, we're going to come in, kind of zoom in on those in just a minute. But the other thing I wanted to show you is my buses. So my buses here, we've got 1 through 6. These are for in-ear monitors. 7 and 8 is a drum bus. It's a stereo drum bus that feeds my house. 9 and 10, stereo band bus that feeds my house. 11 and 12 are my broadcast or live stream mix. And then 13 through 16 are going to be my effects, onboard effects. So let's go ahead and talk about how this is set up. Keep in mind this drum bus. This is going to be important for us. Also, back at the top layer, our bass guitar over here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and solo my live stream mix, my broadcast mix. It does run from bus 11 and 12 over to matrix 1 and 2. That gives a couple additional effects or plugins, if you will, that I can utilize to get a limiter that I like and some last minute EQing before it goes out to broadcast. So we've got the broadcast mix soloed. Over on my monitor over there, I've got some headphones, and if I turn those up, they're just kind of sitting like this, open right now, just to be some small speakers. I don't want to turn on my whole monitors because then you won't be able to hear me. But if I turn this up, you may hear somebody singing right now, and that's the end of a song. So what I've done is I've selected a song where we have drums going and bass playing right now. You can see our broadcast mix is at the top. It's hitting the limiter on some points. Drums are playing. If I look at my drum bus, my drums are playing right now. And this is going to be important. Bass guitar is also playing. And so right here, they stop playing. So let's watch the bass and drums. So bass is off, drums are off now. That's going to be important. Let me turn this back down so I can think. But this is going to be important as we get into how these mics are set up with the gates. So let's go find our crowd mics over here. Crowd mics, if I zoom in a second, you'll see that we have some metering going above here. But watch when the drums play. This is just on a loop. So the drums are going to start playing in a minute. You're going to see the gate come on. So if the little red light down here is on, that means that they're gated. All right, so right here we can see that our red light is on. That means the gate is active, which means that these mics are not going to be coming through and being heard in our broadcast mix. So we're just working with kind of what we consider our dry mix. It's not a dry mix, it's got plenty of effects on it, but it doesn't have the crowd mics. Now watch this, when the drums stop playing over here, you'll watch this gate start to turn off. So now the gate's off, so these mics are active. And that's when we hear just the vocals. So anytime right now that the band, the bass and the drums get turned down or turned off, they stop playing, that then tells the gate over here on these crowd mics to go ahead and open up and let the crowd mics come through. Again, after we talk about the settings, we'll take some listening inside of the DAW and hear what it sounds like with and without the crowd mics. Let's go ahead and zoom into the screen and see what these settings look like for our crowd mics. All right, so here we're in on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and select my channel 21, which is my left crowd mic right now. And I'm going to view the gate. So here's the gate. Let me talk through the settings right now. I'm just going to tell you what's on here. Obviously, this is specific to my venue, my microphones, and our band and setup. But if it helps you to know what I'm doing, then that's good. All right, the first one is my threshold. That threshold is set at minus 15.5 dB. That, as you can see, if I move it, that's going to adjust, how the gate turns off. So that's active. The next one, the mode. The mode is a ducker. Okay, it's set to duck our sound. That's why you get this kind of Z pattern. As you can see right now, whatever is triggering this, which looks like the drums are playing, so my gate is down. Okay, so the gate is closed. But that's a ducker. The next setting is my attack. Attack is at 1 millisecond. Then my hold is 798, we'll round up and say 800 milliseconds. And that means that when the gate turns off, it slowly ramps in. Okay, we've also got a release. The release here is almost 3,000 milliseconds. I guess that says 2,600-ish. So that's a really long release. Again, those two mean that the gate is closed, and when the gate turns off, it holds here for 800 milliseconds, and then it slowly releases across 3,000 milliseconds or 3 seconds. So that's what's happening there. The next thing is my range. My range is set at 45 dB. That range adjusts how much it's turning off the sound of the crowd mics while the bass or drums are playing. Now, we got to flip to the second screen, so we're going to use the down arrows over here, and we go to the second page. And this is where we get our key source. Now my filter, the slope, those aren't active right now. Those are not turned on, but my key source is different. Normally your gate is going to be keyed or sourced by the input channel itself. So this is channel 21. And a lot of times you would have this to be set to self, meaning that its own channel is the source. However, we're doing sidechain gating. So this is set to bus 7. All right, so bus 7 down below we talked about is the drum bus. It's a stereo drum bus, but my kick drum is the important one here, the offending unit, and that is right in the middle, so it's going to come equally in bus 7 and bus 8. So I've got bus 7 is selected here, and that's taking the sound of the bus, and it is actively turning this gate on or off. Now if I go to channel 22, which is my other crowd mic, we have all of the same settings here. So it's we've got a slightly different threshold. This one is minus 19.5. We'll talk about why in a minute. It's set to duck, 1 millisecond, roughly 800 milliseconds and 3,000 milliseconds for the hold and release. The range is 43 on this one. Slightly different because this is triggered by the bass guitar. So if I go down a page, we can see that the key source now is set to channel 7. Not bus 7, but channel 7. Channel 7 is my bass guitar. So right now we see the bass guitar is playing, so my gate is on. And now as soon as the bass guitar stops playing, that gate slowly opens up and lets that crowd mic sound through. So those are the settings which are helping me take my drum bus over here, bus 7 and 8, along with my bass guitar, which is channel 7, and set it so that my crowd mics are gated while they are playing and then ungated when I need that sound of the crowd mics to come through. So that's our setup on the board itself, the physical board. Let's go ahead and jump into the DAW and just take a listen to, we've got this full mix recorded so you can hear what it sounds like with the, with the crowd mics engaged in the live stream mix from the day that we did this. But you can also hear the crowd mics individually so that we can hear what it sounds like when the drums and bass are playing and why I wanted to keep that sound away from my broadcast. All right, so we're here in my DAW. This is Studio One, and by Personas, this is an older version. What we have at the bottom on the left, these are all of our inputs here, kick, snare, all the inputs that are coming from the board. We have the brownish ones down here. This is the main left and right, which goes, this is just a recording of what goes out to the house. Then we have our stream or broadcast mix here. This is a left-right recording, and I've got it going into a bus so that I can quickly solo it and we can listen to it here. We'll do that in a second. Now, I do have a bus set up for my crowd mics. The bus is here on the right just for easy access, but those crowd mics are right here with the yellow solos on them. What I have up top is a loop setup, and you can, we've got here at the beginning of the loop are going to be drums playing. We'll be able to hear the crowd mics. And if I zoom down here, there we go. Here's our crowd mics when the drums are playing, and then you can see when the drums stop playing. Now we're going to hear everything for the drum mics, so it's going to be kind of a distorted sound here, and you can hear why I don't want to have that engaged in my broadcast mix. But let's go ahead and take a listen to it. Here we go. Okay, so we clearly have a lot of distortion. These mics are breaking up, and again, that's what my first experience was. I don't want to have that in my broadcast. So let's hear what happens over here when we don't have the drums playing. Here's what it sounds like. Glory, God is what our hearts long for, to be overcome. Okay, so these are pointed at the front row effectively. Like I said, these are just sticking over our over top of the orchestra pit. And so they're not positioned well, but they were positioned for testing this whole setup here. And what they're giving me is the distortion that I experienced with the drums and bass. They're also giving me crowd mic and live sound. And it's just enough when we blend it in, it's just enough to be able to hear that extra bit of crowd engagement and audience engagement into our broadcast mix. Let's go back now, go back here to the beginning, and what I want to do is solo the live stream. Let's listen to what the live stream sounds like. Now this is going to include the crowd mics because I'm not doing anything active right now. This is exactly what happened that day, and you can hear the exact same performance just with our broadcast mix. So let's listen to that. I'll come a little bit further over here so we get the experience of the crowd mics not on, and then you'll hear them kind of open up slowly.
Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Come flood this place and fill the atmosphere. Won't sing it out. Your glory. Your glory.
Okay, so we have the drums and bass playing, full band sound. We know those mics are distorted, but they are turned off because of that gate being set as a duck. All right, so we're then allowing that gate to slowly open. Remember, we had a hold so that after the drums or bass stop playing, it still holds closed for a certain amount of time, and then it slowly opens up with the release. And so that's giving us not a jarring on and off, but a nice, slow, steady release, blending them in. If we listen here a little bit further, we can hear, again, the crowd kind of on the left and right. They are panned hard left and right.
You reign above it all, over the universe and over every art. There is no higher name.
Okay, so we can still hear the crowd interaction. The band is obviously not playing, but again, this is a concept that gets our crowd mics to be turned off automatically, so our sound technician does not have to deal with it. Let's go back and listen to the full band again, and just hear that transition from full band into just the crowd mics coming back on. Here we go.
More aware of your presence. Let us experience your goodness, Lord. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. Come flood this place and fill. We'll sing it out.
Okay, so we don't have any autocorrect or pitch correction, honestly, on anything in this setup. So we do get some pitchiness from our vocals, but we also get pitchiness from our crowd mics. You're going to get that too because they are normal people. The one thing I want you to listen to now, we're just going to take a listen to that broadcast mix again. Listen to the fact that we don't have crowd mics. We still have reverb. We still have a, not a super dry sound. So we do still have some reverb engaged. We've got our delay and effects. They're happening with or without the crowd mics. So what you have to find is a balance between when the crowd mics come in, how much of your room does it add, and how much does it change or alter that overall sound of your broadcast, and finding a happy medium between the broadcast effects that are in the board, kind of those digital recreations, versus what you have when those mics come in. So let's just take a listen to that. Here's the full band.
More aware of your presence. Let us experience your goodness.
So that's what we've tried to do. We've tried to refine it here. I guess, after we got these recordings, we went back, stuck our stuff in the board like we just did, put some studio headphones on, and played with the effects to try and get them at least dialed into where we have a comfortable blend and mix between the effects in the board and what we're artificially creating, and then having it sound somewhat natural when the crowd mics are engaged and kick on, so we don't have this super reverby or super chorus sound or weird things. That's something you want to consider when you start to craft your own mix and put your crowd mics into action in your space. All right, well, there you go. That, I hope, has been helpful for you. This is what's working for me right now. It's a nice, even sound in terms of giving me some crowd mics. I get it during the speaking or teaching portions. At the end of a song, when the band kind of cuts down and it gets a little quieter, a bit more intimate, our broadcast audio now picks up the congregation singing. Now, again, I want to alter my microphones a little bit so that I get a little bit broader perspective of people, not quite direct, but man, this has been a huge accomplishment and a huge kind of just think tank for me to try and think through what solutions can I use? How can I make this thing automatically do what I want it to do? And this way, the microphones are plugged in. We just have to get them positioned right on any given Sunday morning as we set up everything else in our venue. And then at that point, the board is going to take care of what they do. As long as they set the gain on their drums or bass properly, then all of the gates will be activated properly. And that just talks about standards that we do in our venue for all of our settings. But to spare you those details, hopefully it's been helpful. If you've got questions, feel free to leave those questions in the comment section below. I'm always answering questions. If you want some one-on-one help, take a peek in the description of this video. My website is down there and you can fill out the contact card on the website. We can start a conversation outside of YouTube. But outside of that, give this video a like and subscribe. Share the video with somebody else that you think might find this information helpful. We'll catch you in that next video. Peace.